said we'd never make it on our own, but we're hustling and grinding, so we're proving them all wrong. Every day we're coming closer than we ever could have known, and we don't listen to haters, cause we live and die alone. They never understand the struggle that we've done. We've been in a tunnel of our brain for way too long. We gon' make it out together on our own. There's no stopping the inevitable once it has so grown.
Welcome, boxing fans, to another Fight Night Scores live stream watch along. We've got a lot to cover this week. Obviously, there are some big controversies that's happened in recent weeks, so obviously we are going to talk about that. That is going to be a key focus for the starting part of our stream today. Obviously, Taylor versus Catterall last weekend ended in a hugely disputed decision win for Taylor. We'll get onto that very shortly, as well as a couple of results from this weekend. Our video we're going to watch today is Whitaker versus McGirt #1. I believe they fought a couple of times. That is coming up, or I think it's the exact date, 29 years ago today. It happened in 1993. So we'll be covering that in a little while. First of all, let's bring in my usual co-host, Kaiser Kober. You are on the line. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very good. I'm also happy to be here. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to spend a bit of time talking about scorecard once again, but it's why this kind of website exists. And what we kind of do this for. I'm also looking forward to watching a bit of Pernell Whitaker Buddy McGirt, who were 2 pound for pounders back 29 years ago. So this will be a fascinating one. Yeah,
we're looking forward to it. I've not seen anything of both of these fighters. Like I've said many times before, I'm not really a boxing historian as such, and I've not watched a lot of the older videos and the older boxers. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure it'll be entertaining. So let's kick off with our recap then. We might as well just get straight into it because we're going to focus a lot of time on Taylor versus Catterall from last weekend. The fallout that I saw on Twitter after the fact was probably the biggest that I've seen in ever really. Obviously you just mentioned it at the start there, that the whole purpose of Fight Night Scores, this system, is really to improve the way that boxing is scored, and the ultimate goal would be to make this the official way that boxing judges have to score fights, because it happens week in, week out, where we see a horrible boxing scorecard. Several years back, I decided I'm going to implement something, and over time I've added to it, made it a bit better, and nothing's changed in that time. If anything, I think boxing judging has got worse, or we're certainly getting more frequent bad decisions, it seems. I'm not sure if that's how you feel, Kaiser. Have you noticed a discrepancy in recent years, or has it just always been pretty consistently bad?
I'd agree. I think there's always been robberies. As long as boxing's the way it is, there's a lot of and speak frankly, there's a lot of criminal aspects to it. Back to the 1940s, where it was serious organised crime, and even now, obviously, we can't go too far without mentioning any names. We know there's still at least alleged organised crime bosses still involved to a certain degree. I think the big robberies out of history, the kind of Whitaker, Chavez, the Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, those will always stand out because there's so many rounds scored incorrectly. 10, 11 rounds were scored incorrectly to a certain degree. But I think on average, especially in the UK here, the judging is just appalling. I mean, I think even though just going back a few months, Joseph Parker, Derek Chisora too, even though Parker got the decision, the scorecards that were delivered were some of the worst ever. I think Chisora got 114. Parker won a 114-112 in a fight. It was probably like a 118-106. So
Yeah,
secret.
yeah. That's one thing what we can touch on again after, but for all of these like outrageous decisions, like the one that we saw last weekend, where there is an outrage because the wrong man won. For every one of them, there's still maybe 3 or 4 where there was a razor tight decision that shouldn't have been, but the right guy won, and then that quickly gets forgotten about. And the other thing probably to say is now we're living in obviously the world of social media, which probably highlights this way more than it ever did 10, 15 years ago even. There is now obviously a bigger backlash. You see it more because obviously people are all looking at Twitter and other social media platforms, so the echo chamber is increased. But it does seem that like back 10 to 15 years ago it used to be, oh, don't go and fight in Germany because you're just going to go and get robbed. Germany was the place never to go to, and like for the occasional fights in Eastern Europe or over to Asia and Africa where it'd be, oh, I don't know why boxers would want to go over there because they're just not going to get the decision. But now in 2022 that is the UK. I think the UK is probably the worst for bad decisions and bad judging, and specifically to the home A-side fighter. It happens constantly.
Yeah, I concur with all that. It's just a really shocking state of affairs, and the powers that be, the British Board of Boxing Control just seem to, whenever they have a sort of investigation into it, just seems to always get swept under the rug as a kind of, oh, it's subjective, and therefore, for example, Terry O'Connor's scorecard was correct. It wasn't correct though, it just seemingly always out just to absolve each other. I mean, this fight had UK politicians who watched Taylor Catterall, and I know, our speaker is obviously Catterall's representative in Parliament, but how often is it that politicians or people in government are like, this is terrible, I actually have to have a word with someone about this, sporting ministers and whatnot? That's crazy.
Yeah. I retweeted that. I saw that come up. I think I saw someone mention it first. I was like, that can't be right. And I checked it, and he had tweeted. But yeah, that is insane. And pretty much everyone on Twitter was almost unified in that was the wrong decision. I think did Andre Ward on the American cast? Did he have Taylor winning? I think I saw that possibly. And then you obviously get the odd
for Taylor.
Yeah, and then another thing I've noticed with like looking at American fans, whether it be podcasts or other streams, I check into a couple through the week, and while a lot of them say that the wrong decision happened, a lot of them are not quite as outraged as we were over in Britain. So maybe they kind of were swayed slightly by the American broadcast and seeing it more of a closer fight. Possibly, I'm not too sure. But that being said, if we actually go and have a look at our users' combined scorecard, it is actually really quite surprising.
Yeah.
I guess you would have taken a look at this at some point. And I actually only rewatched and scored the fight this afternoon. I didn't do it on the night. I was watching. I thought that Catterall won it quite clearly, but I wasn't actually keeping scores. But I watched it again this afternoon, and it was such a horrible fight. I'm definitely not going to rewatch it because it wasn't a nice fight to actually watch. And there were probably closer rounds than you'd think. I scored it quite wide still. I think I had it 9-3. We'll have a look at our scorecards next to each other in a minute. But if I'm just onto the combined scorecard for all users at the moment, and if I scroll down to the bottom, it's 6 rounds apiece.
Yeah.
So that knockdown, I guess, was the deciding factor for our users. So I'm quite surprised of how close that is. Any thoughts?
I was the same. I scored it again. I watched it on the day. I think I had it 8 rounds, Catterall, 3 Taylor, and then 1 even because of the point deduction in round 11. I thought Taylor won it, and then it was a 9-9 round.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it back, kind of with my judging hat on. I think I scored some of the rounds differently. I saw the fight a bit differently. I think I had it 1 round closer, but I saw the fight as more competitive. That being said, I still vehemently disagree that Taylor won the fight. He didn't do anything. He didn't do enough early on in the first 6 rounds to have enough in the bank when Catterall took his foot off the gas. I still see it as a robbery. I don't think you could have it any closer than 113, 112 Catterall. Like,
yeah.
How that is the closest.
The closest it can possibly get. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that is the closest you could get for Taylor.
And just for the record, I think that's generous.
Yeah.
I know it's average users, and a lot of them scored it from the night. I think that's quite generous, though.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is. I'll get onto our. Is it this one? Nope. I'm just trying to find the correct screen to show. I've got our side-by-side scorecards up now. So yeah, I had it way wide. I had it 109, 116, so that comes to 9 rounds to 3. I can see, yeah, you've got 7 rounds to 4 with that one even because of the point deduction. That's right, isn't it? So we did disagree on a couple of rounds. We'll go down from the top because it's quite interesting reading, I guess. Both of us have been adding comments there, I can see, which is good. So we had the same for the first 4 rounds, 5 rounds. Well, the first 6 rounds we were in agreement, it looks like.
Just to interject here as well, I do believe this is an important thing about rewatching a fight with like your scoring cap on, is that you see the commonalities. Like when I watched the first 6 rounds, it was clearly 5-1, and I can see you've scored it the exact same way.
Yeah.
It was clearly like I don't see how anyone could see it differently. Like that was the main thing about rewatching it. Live, it was different. I gave Catterall round 3 live, and I gave Taylor round 2 live.
Okay.
Yeah, I've switched it round when I saw it this time. I see it a lot differently.
I actually was thinking about that as I watched it this afternoon, because those 2 rounds were really close, so you could switch them, and I guess that'd seem okay, because I was kind of struggling with round 2 and round 3, so I guess they could. There is a case for Taylor winning one there more than we've shown on our scorecards. But yeah, it's quite interesting. It was kind of the same all the way through until we got an exact same score there for round 6. It was quite clear. I remember that one. Yeah, I think that was the best one, or the biggest gap in terms of Catterall winning it more clearly than anything previous. And then obviously we get into the scrappier rounds from 7 onwards. There was some knockdowns, there was some point deductions, which cancelled each other out in the end, I guess. So we differentiated on the 9th round and on the 11th round. Yeah, so that was the one where there was a point deduction, whereas I scored that one for have I done that right or wrong?
Yeah, 11th round, Taylor was deducted the point, so that's
Taylor was deducted the point there. Yeah, yeah.
See, in the 2 rounds that we of disagree on, the interesting thing is that we've had the would have been the same reasons, is that you have preferred Catterall's his boxing and his timing of the counter punches.
Yeah.
Where I preferred Taylor's.
He was coming forward more, weren't he?
The rough stuff.
Yeah.
This is actually one of the few cases where it was legitimately Taylor landed more, Catterall landed better.
Yeah.
And that's one of the very few times I'll say that and say it's actually a legitimate argument. because it was so rough though, and there was so little between them. And in terms of actual clear shots, that it was fair.
Yeah, and we both even alluded to that in the comments as well. Scrappy, horrible round. You said more of stuff, and scrappy but inconsistent enough to take the round. And yeah, I can understand that. He was coming forward more, and I just preferred the Catterall's landed shots just seemed that a bit more better. They were effective, more eye-catching maybe. But again, I guess this perfectly illustrates, both sides. If we saw this on judges' scorecards, I don't think there'd be such an outrage. People go, oh yeah, I can see, why they've scored that now and how they've scored it. They've given a reason. They don't necessarily need to add comments because they don't have time, I guess. But yeah, I guess this system highlights that it could improve the transparency of what a judge is thinking at that time. It's like a snapshot of what's in his head that he would ultimately be accountable for as well if it came down to being questioned after the fact. So yeah, interesting. We had it quite wide. The overall scorecard is closer, but then that's reflected in the actual rounds percentages. They are, the percentages are quite close, even though we both scored it to Catterall handily. But they were, a lot of them rounds were really, really close, apart from the knockdown and maybe that 6th round. I think it was that Catterall was more dominant. But yeah, certainly not a fight that I'll want to watch again anytime soon. I was listening to the Boxing News podcast in the week, and they had Robert Smith on. The usual thing after a controversial scorecard happens. And again, it's difficult to see what gets done. He came out and said the same kind of things. He thought that Jack had won the fight, and he kept alluding to John Lewis's scorecard as the one that they're going to kind of sit down with and talk through more thoroughly. And I guess the other two are kind of being accepted, I guess. And Ian John Lewis is the one that has to be spoken to a bit more. Do you think that we're going to see anything different? Is it going to be a case, and I don't know if anything's come out since then, whether it's going to come out in the next week or two, but is it just going to be the case of, yeah, we've sat down with the judges, we're happy with their explanations, move on, next?
I think so. It's kind of just the state of affairs we're in. I think when there is some legitimacy, not that I agree with it, I don't want to sound like I'm the expert of all, boxing and scoring, but I saw the fight a particular way, and I struggled how people saw it another way. Us and a lot of the Brits, people like the boxing asylum and whatnot. Obviously, we've followed it for a few years. We kind of know what we're seeing.
Yeah.
We all saw Catterall win. Regardless of how close it was, Taylor didn't do enough to win a decision. But we're finding some of the Americans, Adam Abramowitz, Dougie Fisher, Ring Magazine, 113, 112 to Taylor. So as long as there's some legitimacy there, Angie Ward, a former world champion, one of the best boxers of the last kind of few decades. As long as there's some scorecards from people who have some legitimacy, it's just going to get swept under the rug.
Yeah, but again, it's like, at what point does something need to be done? And to be fair to the to Matt Christie on the Boxing News podcast, he kind of was asking that question. He sounds just utterly fed up with the state of things, and also it doesn't help the fact that the British board of box I can't even get my words out. The British board, they're just one entity in the whole spaghetti mess of boxing organisations throughout the world. So one can't change the rules, but you'd think maybe one would try to push for something different it's hard to see what they can do. But it just seems a lot of people are asking whether the scoring system itself is broke. Again, I go back to that podcast. They were saying about using different systems, because 10-9 is, it doesn't show the differentiation between a close round and a really wide round, which is the same as what our percentage thing is. The purpose of that, it changes the dynamic. You got a broader range to pick from. They've mentioned that about having half points, and I'm not sure whether Robert Smith said again whether they tried that at one point. Is that anything you know about, where they might have allowed to give a half a point for a better round?
I think they had the 5-point system back in the day in the UK. In the 70s it was like a 5 3/4 round, 5.5 maybe for a knockdown, that type of thing.
Right, okay. I mean, they mentioned about possibly making it like a 10-8 for a not as close round, a 10-9 for a close round, and then for knockdowns you go down, to 10-7 and what have you. Which, it is a differentiator between a wider round and a closer round. It's surely that would be a bit of an improvement, but then you need that to be adopted, throughout the world and all of the governing bodies. It's hard to see how it can all be implemented. But they all took up the rules of Queensberry boxing rules, so maybe it just needs one big organisation to kind of jump forward with it and push forward, and hopefully the others would follow suit maybe. And this is the whole purpose of Fight Night Scores. I've created a system which in theory shouldn't be that difficult to implement. It's not a radical change from what already exists. It's still using the current system. It just becomes a computerized version, and it also adds a reason to be given and a percentage of how close the round was. It shouldn't be that difficult to implement. It shouldn't be that difficult for an organisation to take it up, because it's not like radically changing the way that they do things already. Obviously it adds a bit of technology. People might say that that's too much to do to score between rounds, but is it really? It takes a few seconds to do it on whatever device that they're going to use. There's no need for the weird waiting around at the end of fights while we tally up and write down the scores on the paper. And that was another thing. They was in the ring for quite a while between the last bell and when they read out the scores, and you just know, don't you?
Yeah.
As time creeps up, people start to say, "Oh, they're taking a while for the scores. Are we gonna, what's coming?" And it started being put on Twitter before they announced the scores, and I knew something was coming. I was expecting a draw, but it was worse than that. So again, a computerized system wouldn't have that, because everything's done, it's there, it's instant. So it's just a case of celebrate for 10 seconds, now get back to the centre of the ring, make the announcement, it's done. I just think that boxing is kind of stuck in the olden days a bit, and it needs to want to change, and it's going to take a lot to really get there. And the purpose of our system is to let users and fight fans use it, to enjoy it, to like it, to express that on social media and share it with their friends and other people that are interested in boxing. And with enough people interested in it and demanding that it gets used, maybe it could drive change, but I think we're a long way from there.
Yeah, not to sound too pessimistic, but I think as long as there's certainly ace sides and boxers who, are so above the rest in terms of their marketability and how much they bring in, we're always going to have a struggle of a judging problem.
Absolutely.
The likes of Canelo, brings in so much money for Vegas. It's going to be so hard for people to, score runs against him. It's just going to be the way things are, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you're never going to get away from bad decisions and inept judging, or whatever you want to call it. That's just always going to be the case when essentially it's someone's opinion of what they're seeing. But this just adds a bit more clarity and transparency to the judges' scorecards. All we see is the 10-9s in whatever order, and everyone's then questioning, why have they scored it that way for that round. And at least with this system, it adds a little bit more transparency and clarity. But we'll see. We will see. I'm sure it'll be not too long before we're discussing the next dodgy scorecard, the next wrong decision that goes the wrong way, and Twitter will be outraged. I go crazy on Twitter after a decision like that, retweeting people and liking all the people that are displaying their outrage, and it's a good platform for us to kind of say, well, what about a different system? What about this system? And a lot of people do get back and reply and say it's good and it's interesting and it should be used, but we need to build up that audience. So hopefully that's what happens. That's what this stream's for as well. We're hoping to get more viewers and more people coming on through YouTube, showing interest in it, and just growing. So let's move on. I think we've
what a recap that was.
We've recapped that for
the
quite.
The problem is with that fight is the minute we talk about it, we have to rant for half an hour about how bad it was and
exactly.
how much it's damaged the sport.
Exactly, and that's been the same all week. Every single podcast that you listen to, every YouTube stream that you see, same kind of scenario. So it's got to be expected. And like I say, it'll happen again. It'll continue to happen, and nothing will be done. And that's just the way it is. That's boxing, they keep saying. I think it could be a hashtag. So anyway, this weekend we had a couple of fights over in the States. I didn't see any of these, but Ramirez got a win. That was he lost last time out against Josh Taylor, didn't he? That's right. He's returned to winning ways, so I guess he's back up in the fold. Possibly a future Catterall opponent, since Taylor's going to be moving up. And also last night, Chocolatito Gonzalez won again. I think that was supposed to be quite a test for him. Younger guy, I think he was coming up a weight division. Pretty decent record. But again, I didn't see this, but from looking at Twitter, it sounds like Gonzalez rolled out another great performance and he looked absolutely fantastic. Have you managed to see any of these, or just what you've seen on Twitter?
I caught just the kind of the roundup report about Ramirez beating Pedraza. All three judges had it 8-4. Not surprised there. Probably one of the easier predictions you could have made this week. Just too busy. I did stay up to watch the Gonzalez fight.
Okay.
I think last week I said my prediction was that he'd just be too good. He would just land too much and you would take him out in kind of the middle rounds.
Yeah.
It did play out that way. It just turns out that Martinez just had something in his chin that just kept him up for all 12 rounds. But
right.
Make no mistake, it will after the 5th round, which was a bit more competitive. It was a masterclass, though. It was breaking it into head and body, just managed to stay on his feet. Showed unbelievable toughness. But one of those fights that was definitely a worry in for a young fighter's long-term health. That would have taken quite a few years off his career.
Right. Okay. Well, there we go. it's good that Gonzalez is back, looking as still seemingly as good as he always was. Maybe not quite as quick or whatnot, but he's still a top-notch fighter. He's got one of the best records of any active boxer, isn't he, currently? So, yeah, interesting to see how he goes on from there. I guess we've spent quite a lot of time now on the recap, so we will move on. Obviously, we're not really discussed about futures for Catterall and Taylor, but we can discuss that next time, I guess. And whenever there are any future news about their next bouts and stuff, so that's fine. So I think we can move on to our scoring for Buddy McGirt versus Pernell Whitaker. It was, as it's on the screen now, March the 6th, exactly today, 1993. So I made that 29 years ago. I think my maths is correct. Early 90s, so way before my time being interested in boxing. I was not even 10 at this point. Have you got a little bit of a backstory for us before we get going on this?
Yeah, it was a big decider of who was basically going to be pound for pound number one come kind of later, 1993. Buddy McGirt, welterweight champion, ranked number 5. Whitaker ranked number 2 behind Julio Cesar Chavez. Whitaker at this point is won a championship at lightweight and I believe at super lightweight as well. So two top 5 pound for pounders. I think everyone was excited for it. Not very often you're able to get those types of fighters in the same weight classes, and this was one of the few occasions.
Yeah, and this is at welterweight, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Whitaker was moving up.
Yeah. So like even back then, welterweight was a pretty not necessarily stats, but that's where some good quality talent was. It always seems to be the case, especially the last 15-20 years. It's been a hotbed for great fighters.
Yeah, the early 90s. The pound for pound list around this time for 1992: Chavez number 1, Whitaker number 2, Terry Norris number 3, Orlando Gonzalez number 4, Buddy McGirt number 5, Riddick Bowe number 6. Obviously, that would be after his win against Holyfield, I think. Zuma Nelson, Julian Jackson, James Toney. Filled with talent. Obviously, we've got Roy Jones and Hopkins still in the middleweight rankings. So they're making their rise up as well.
It's an impressive list.
Yeah.
Wow.
What a time to have been a boxing fan.
Yeah, amazing. Brilliant. All right then. Well, I've got my scorecard ready. You've got the link, haven't you? And you are prepared. For anyone that's watching and anyone who watches in future, if you want to score this along with us as you're watching the fight, the link is in the description. If you want to find it manually on the website, you can go to the fight list from the menu, and then if you kind of go to the last page, the fights are listed in date order. So this is from 93. It should be on that first page, at least for the time being, and you can find it there and click through. Also, if you are wanting to join the streaming group so that you can see how you scored compared to us and the combined scorecard for everyone that's in that group and future fights that they score, you need to follow the instructions that again is in the video description. There is a code to join the group, so the code is in the description. You can go to your group section, enter the code, and you'll be into that group. So with that out of the way, I think it's time to play the video. Hopefully we won't have any issues. I will turn the volume down just so you can hear us. Okay, away we go.
Whitaker, also known as one of the greatest defensive fighters of all time, but you see him immediately take control of the ring.
Yep.
Coming forward, putting McGirt on his back foot. One of the best southpaws of all time as well. Just excellent fundamentals. Basically perfect footwork. The level changes, the knees are strong. The good stiff jab.
Mhm.
When it comes to technical fighters, there's not many better.
Well, like I said earlier, I'm not really familiar with how these guys operate. I know, obviously, I know the names from as being legendary fighters. So, I'm hoping to learn a lot from, watching all of these fights with you. And this is the first time I'll have actually watched any actual boxing footage of both guys. So, interesting to see.
Yeah, Whitaker obviously known for his lateral movement. His reflexes are obviously some of the best of all time. So he was known for I think a Redondo analogy might be a bit harsh, but certainly was known to be quite defensive. I think someone once put it. He sometimes focused on making his opponents look bad instead of making himself look good.
Okay.
But I've actually really liked the stuff he's done so far. McGirt hasn't actually. I don't think he's really thrown anything with commitment. I think at least Whitaker is basically boxed more his fight.
Yeah, he's trying to make something happen, isn't he? And McGirt's just kind of on the back foot, and I guess it's a feeling out round, trying to figure out what's going on. But yeah, lack of activity so far.
Although McGirt's reflexes and defense himself has been very good. He's managed to get his head off the centre line. The good judgment of distance. He takes himself out of range just in time. You saw Whitaker just avoid that. Whitaker, I think, was a bit more busy in that first kind of minute for me. There's a good elbow block.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of it is actually landing, but you can. It's looking like he's trying to land something, so it's probably a little bit more effective. That's a good shot from the ropes.
The thing about the elites, though, is that when you look at the subtleties of it, they see the punches coming and they're actually mitigating or even taking away all the damage for you against there. Like, I don't think there's been a legitimate hard clean shot landed this entire round.
Yeah, maybe one just there.
Landed,
yeah.
But you can see the head movement just taken away in time.
Oh Jesus, we're straight into round 2. Let me just pause. I'll give us just a moment to get some scores in. I didn't preempt the video. Okay, we'll go there. We confirmed. Alright, I'll get straight into the next round. We can move along pretty quickly this way. So, bit more action so far.
I think McGirt's had a lot more success when he's thrown the right hand so far. It seems to have landed about 2 of them. His distance is very good. He follows Whitaker just in time to kind of land the right hand, but he's backing up quite nicely as well. Seems to take away, well, that time, commentator's curse there where Whitaker just perfectly lands the left hand just while he's in range, but you see another thing about Whitaker there. He's an absolutely excellent inside fighter too.
So there's a bit of a lag going on.
Yeah.
I'll just pause it. It might be my internet.
Whitaker, despite being this, defensive kind of wizard, a great inside fighter, very technically brilliant.
Oh, that was a great shot there.
Yeah, that was excellent.
Oh, we're having a bit of struggle here. I'll just do another pause. Sorry about this, folks. Maybe my internet's going a little bit slow for some reason.
Oh yeah, that was nice.
It's like watching boxing on a real stream.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, some technical difficulties here.
Just a grazing blow there.
Okay, hopefully it's settled down a little bit.
And Whitaker with the combination. McGirt's corner.
I'm gonna have to presume that landed.
Stand.
Oh, this is
Okay.
This has turned into something else. This looks like the Joshua Usyk stream you watch.
Okay, let's rewind. We can't be doing this. Let's go back a little bit. Can hear my computer whirring away. It's working hard. Right, let's go back.
Okay, yeah. Sets that up nicely. Great straight left. That was
McGirt thus far content to play the role of counterpuncher.
I mean, I'm assuming it is my computer, not the actual stream itself, the actual video.
Just a grazing blow there.
oh, a few good shots
Couple landed through there.
there. Finished with a nice right to the body.
To shorten up his stance.
Yeah.
Whitaker lands solidly with the left hand.
I think the ref got in the way of that for us to properly
Yeah.
see it.
Coming up on 30 seconds in round 2.
Yeah, McGirt kind of raised his activity level, landed more shots, but good thing about Whitaker is that he kind of raised his game to kind of match it. I think he's landed the best shots they're in so far. Some really good eye-catching ones, but
Yeah.
he's matched pace as well. He's made sure he's not really losing the exchanges.
There's a jab from McGirt. But just one.
Well.
Final seconds of round 3.
Well, from what I could gauge from that, I think it's a Whitaker round.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd
bit
agree with that.
annoying.
I thought it was competitive, but I thought it was a good round for Whitaker. He was basically doing more what he wanted.
Whitaker. Trainer George
Yeah,
Benson
agreed.
and the ever-present
Looks like we might get between rounds now rather than straight into the next round. Still struggling.
Al Cerdo talking to McGirt. Danny Milano in the corner along with Al Gavin. McGirt is a perennial slow starter. And this is the type of round where he usually starts to pick it up the third. Scheduled for 12.
Okay, we're in for the third round.
Buddy McGirt, blue trunks, white trim. Pernell Whitaker, red trunks to the black trim. For McGirt's welterweight championship, the WBC version.
It's kind of fundamental orthodox southpaw stuff here for the elites, jabbing up over the top of each other, lead foot dominance,
Not doubling up on it.
even an occasional jab to the body, just looking for something different, not too committed with it. And you saw McGirt there just go straight with the lead, and then Whitaker matched it with him. So yeah, this is. Oh, there's another one, just straight down the pipe with it. This would be a great fight to watch on a technical level, especially for aspiring boxers or even just for film analysis, because what they're doing is, in terms of technique, is It's excellent.
Yeah.
He's letting them work their way out of here, which I always like as well. I think if they're not in close enough arms actually wrapped up, just let them fight. You know, good inside stuff.
Yeah.
Because actually Whitaker's getting the better of that. You can see him he's able to jockey his position more and just kind of really get the fluidity of the hook going. That's really nice. Head's coming in close. I like Whitaker. He really digs into the body as well. You can see him really.
Yeah, proper whipping it in.
Yeah. I think as well, people don't really appreciate, especially at home, how much those hurt. Like, if you've ever been, hit or have a fall or anything to the solar plexus and you get properly winded, it's a horrible feeling.
Just did a nice uppercut right on the chin, and I mean McGirt's coming back with some nice shots, but
he just gets outlanded in the exchanges though. I think he gets outlanded about 2-1, and there's a beautiful
great
2-1
shot
as well.
Yeah.
There's an uppercut, another one.
He's unfazed and he's walking forward and landing some good shots, Whitaker. So
yeah. Anyway, that was effortless, just kind of getting the gloves up in time to kind of block there. Oh, there you go. That perfect defense. Just easy duck.
Both fighters picking their spots here in the third. Tempo good feint by Buddy McGirt. As he alluded that.
So after this round, I'm going to have to pause because my computer seems to be freezing up. Okay. So let's. Yeah, well, I'm just going. Nothing is actually working for us, so I'm going to have to. End and hello, I think we are back. We had some technical issues. I've had to do a restart on my computer. I think we are all set to go again though. Are you still with us, Kaiser, on the line, please?
Yeah, I'm still here, ready to go.
Perfect. I think we are at the end of round 3. That's where the video still is at the moment. We've put our scores in. I will just move this forward a little bit. Move it forward a bit between these. There we go. Alright, sorry about that, people. Hopefully we are sorted now, and no more issues. Round 4, let's go.
Buddy McGirt in his 12th pro season. Pernell Whitaker in his 10th. Jab landed by McGirt. Toe to toe in the center of the ring. And Whitaker content to trade with McGirt. We have not seen a lot of McGirt's signature punch, his left hook.
So they're both just willing to stand there head to head, working the body.
Whitaker landing the jab.
Yeah, it's the action's actually really, really good. You can't really say enough about how high level it is. You know, the step back 1-inch counters. You know, the inside work. I mean, you don't see many inside fighters as good as Whitaker, even McGirt anymore. You know?
Like you say, it's so technically it's very good. The action might not be the most exciting, but just like you say, the technique and pure boxing, it's great uppercut there by Whitaker.
Yeah, I mean, he just gets out the way, or puts his arms and gloves just in the right places. You know, block combination, comes back, times the uppercut perfectly.
Tying up again in the middle. This is a pretty tough round so far. We've only got a minute left.
Yeah, I think whoever can land some really good shots in this last minute is probably eligible to steal it. Although,
Yeah.
I think so far, I think Whitaker maybe landed a few more body shots. So I may be favouring him so far, but that's a good
It's
shot.
a good shot, yeah. Oh, it's a nicely timed.
Whitaker got through. Solid blow by Pernell.
There's a stiff jab as well. There's-
Back to the body, good hook.
yeah.
McGirt punctuated by the right hand.
Oh, caught him on the head.
And there's a right hook as he tried to kind of leave.
Both fighters picking their spots here in the fourth.
And he just avoids the counter and then avoids the counter back. Oh,
Oh, that's a
another one
good
back.
shot.
Oh,
Oh,
there's
man.
one back. Yeah, they're just not letting the other finish the exchange.
Yeah.
You know, they wanna capture the judges. Oh, honestly. I'd be interested to know, what other people saw that, but that might be as close to the 50-50 round as I can see. I can
Yeah.
barely split them.
You know my thoughts.
Yeah.
You know my thoughts on 10-10.
I don't know. I think as well as that, you only have like one chance just to kind of properly watch it, and you're just watching it now. And I think, as you kind of said before, when we commentate this, it's always hard to remember every single punch that was landed in the first minute too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Buddy McGirt against Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. WBC welterweight championship, Madison Square Garden, New York City. McGirt in the blue trunks, Whitaker in the red.
Oh,
So
that's-
just as we watch this first minute or so, just to explain for viewers, we would usually be looking at our scores compared side by side, but we went over time in the intro, and we've had technical issues, and there's some also technical issues for the scorecard comparison section as well. So we're just going to skip that for until the end of the fight. Okay.
McGirt with a couple of combinations.
McGirt's looking a little bit more active.
Watching the head. I think he felt he was butted.
I didn't quite see that. Did you notice if there was a headbutt in there?
I think they did come in close, but I'm not sure how intentional it was.
There's a jab finally thrown by McGirt.
Yeah, McGirt seems content to be more in and out now. You know, good defense, eye-catching single shots most of the time. It's quite Bernard Hopkins in a way. You know,
That was a good little combination there. He's having a better round, I'd say. That, you know, we're over halfway through this one. Whitaker's still, he's got the centre ring and coming forward. McGirt's being just more active, isn't he? At this point,
I think he wants to box more of his own fight. Whitaker seems happy to come forward and at least get on the inside, but you saw McGirt there just kind of try and almost get the underhooks just to kind of stop him. You know, there he is trying to kind of control the range, you know, get his shoulder basically to fully control the inside, but most of the time he's happy to box more on the outside, pick his shots more. So he's changed his strategy a little bit.
yeah,
I think it's working out quite well.
yeah, yes. I'd say, you know, previous rounds, Whitaker looked to be controlling the action a bit more, whereas this time, McGirt, he's stood slightly back, just controlling that distance a bit more. And he's just coming occasionally, so that's good body work.
Yeah, Whitaker is really trying to pour out with the combinations last minute, trying to steal it.
Yeah. It's his best round for me there, for Buddy.
I think so. Oh, the thing is as well, I think it was still close. Honestly, I don't think I would complain too much if someone gave that to Whitaker because he was so
No.
busy.
Yeah,
But,
true.
but there was the combinations he was pulling, the movement. You can't not say that he wasn't boxing his own fight too. Oh, that's an interesting one. I think I'm gonna go for McGirt there.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's one of the few times the commentators will say that, and I'll probably agree.
Oh,
there's some nice stuff.
some nice work. It's a good combination there.
Yeah, he got the full leverage on that. He didn't really have it in the last round. He did to the body, but not really to the head. But it was a good
Yeah,
game
he's
there.
not letting McGirt keep that distance that he had in the previous round. He's a little bit more now. But jab battle at the moment.
Yeah, you can even see with the southpaw orthodox dynamic. You can see Pernell. Obviously, his feet are faster. You can see him that quick kind of sidestep just to get out to the outside of McGirt's lead foot just before he jabs.
Yeah.
That's when he has the most success because obviously he's fully in control of the range. You know, the flank is basically exposed. Yeah, better rounds for McGirt. Yeah. Sorry, Whitaker.
Whitaker, yeah.
Yeah.
We're just over halfway. I'd say so far he's winning.
It's the jab as well. He's went back to the basics. It's the jab and footwork. That's
Yeah.
one of them. That's
He's just controlling it, isn't he?
yeah. He just sidestep, just got on with the counter jab. Don't think that landed flush. I think he just kind of ducked and managed to get a little bit of a block on that.
Getting a little bit scrappy.
And again, Whitaker will just chop away from the inside as Larry Hazard separates the fighters.
It's another tough one.
And he's just caught himself on the ropes. And when you're already getting outlanded in the round, and the good thing about Whitaker is that he's making sure to basically outland his opponents in the last minute.
Yeah.
Make sure he lands the combinations and the best shots. And yeah, he just
Probably has
trying to
won
steal
him a
it.
few rounds, yeah.
And yeah, I think he's definitely secured this round in the last
Yeah,
minute here.
he has.
If
Some
there's
nice
any doubt, yeah.
nice body shots in there, and he's making McGirt miss.
It's like making an argument to the judges, give me this round, and they just do it in the last 30 seconds.
Oh, it's a nice shot at the end there.
Yeah, just let himself get at work there.
Yep, John Duddy making an appearance.
Yeah.
We'll skip along. We don't need their analysis. We're doing it all for you. Cheers, John.
Well, so far, after half the fight, you would say Whitaker's looking well for moving up in weight, challenging welterweight champion, very experienced guy. He's looking well. I think so far he's probably ahead on points. I think most scorers of this would have him ahead, and say he looked the better boxer so far. He's looked better inside and outside as well.
Yep.
All the ranges he seems to adapt better.
Warning for hazard for Whitaker to keep those punches up. This is almost a chess match.
Another battle of jabs. The other thing is that McGirt seems more aggressive now. He seems to come to the centre of the ring and try and put Whitaker on his back foot now. I'm not sure. We didn't hear the corner work, but I presume they've told him to be more aggressive because they must feel he's behind.
Yeah.
He needs to really make a case in the second half. He's done quite well. He has got that jab going a bit and landed a few nice right hands, but obviously Whitaker is an excellent counter puncher. He takes a step back, but he will obviously time you as well. That's a nice kind of block. His defensive instincts are second to none. Kind of grazed the chin kind of down to the chest there. Oh, there's a lot more aggressive from McGirt here, and he wants to now go back to the inside though.
Yeah, body
Like
shots.
he doesn't want to lose the exchanges. Yeah. Understatement.
We're coming up to the last 30 seconds.
That's a nice jab. We'll see if Whitaker tries to steal this, because I actually think McGirt's had a pretty good round here. I mean, Whitaker's had a good round as well, but McGirt is
And it's so.
authority back on it.
Oh, that's a
there's
great shot.
jab.
I was just going to say it's kind of hard not to kind of score it as a single individual round. You kind of
Yeah.
take into account previous rounds, don't you? And
Yeah.
I think maybe that sweet shot at the end might have just was the decider for me. I'll just do a quick pause on that because we're straight into the next round. Give us a second. Alright. We'll continue. Round 8.
And now Whitaker again starts on the inside instead of where he was at the end of the last round, which was moving much more. Watch your head, buddy. Watch your head. Whitaker's corner yelling for combination.
Oh, there's a nice right hand in the bite.
Nice. Oh, and another one right in the chin
Yep.
there. That one was definitely a flush.
Still, McGirt is not finishing with his left hook.
You know, these two are very good. The fact that it's a orthodox versus southpaw and they've not been falling over each other or made it too scrappy.
Yeah.
Even when
I think it's one of those things people. It's hard to appreciate when you're watching elite stuff. Is that everything about them was good though? Like the balance, the timing it's like decades inside a boxing gym sparring, and doing the full training camps and having all those fights and all that experience and different opponents.
Yeah. So it's easy to underappreciate it, really.
Yeah.
So we're coming up to a minute left. This is a tough round again. Nice uppercut.
Yeah, McGirt's found a bit more of the right hand. The two earlier in the round, but he landed a few good uppercuts there on the inside, which I thought were the best punches of the exchange. So for me, I think as good as Whitaker is in terms of keeping busy and kind of matching the exchanges, I do think McGirt may have just had a little bit more spite in the shots so far.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's forced the things a bit more.
As soon as we say that, Whitaker's going to come back and then he lands the best shots there in the last 30 seconds.
True to form.
Yeah. Oh,
that's a great shot.
Just exceptionally timed as well.
And the blocking there as well.
Well, I think I'm gonna still edge to McGirt just based on he was a bit more consistent throughout the round. Where I thought Whitaker, his main argument was the work he did in the last 30 seconds. But if you were scoring that live, you'd have given that round to Whitaker.
Yeah.
Because that's the last thing you would have seen. Oh.
I think I'm inclined to go with Whitaker on that one, to be honest. And it's now getting, a one-way street from my scores.
See, I watched this fight a while ago, and I remember not seeing the controversy behind it. That's obviously was my opinion at the time. I didn't say it because I don't want to prejudice things, but I remember always thinking that Whitaker was a clear winner. A lot. If you look online, there's a lot of scorecards out there, that have a draw or 7-5 McGirt, and I can't even give that now. I think at this rate.
I'm struggling for that. Yeah. It's funny. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think McGirt had a shoulder injury as well. I think they were all saying, why doesn't he use the left hook? I'm not sure if it was the left shoulder that was a bit more damaged, so he could only really probe, throw the jab with it, and he's focused more on the right hand.
Yeah.
Oh, that was really nice.
Great shot, yeah. I think the commentator might have mentioned that at the very start of the fight. I'm sure they mentioned the shoulder issue. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of these rounds have been close, and McGirt has had his success. It's just that
Whitaker just seems that little. I don't know how to say it. I think it's just that little bit better, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's that little bit better on the outside. He times the left hand straight down the pipe just that little bit better. His jab is a little bit better.
Yeah.
The inside work, the body shots are just that little bit better.
Might be a technique thing. It looks a bit flashier.
Yeah.
Southpaw, maybe. I don't know. But yeah.
I don't think I think as well. I don't think I've given any round 70-30. I think they've all been 50-50s to 60-40s at worst. So McGirt has definitely been competitive. It's a good fight, but
yeah, I mean he's not being outclassed. He's kind of matching him. It just seems that Whitaker's slightly better. That's a great shot left.
Kind of grazing right hand when he falls back. Others, I can't even tell if that landed or not.
No.
I saw the left glove move in time. I think he might have just knocked that away in time, and then just avoids that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is good.
Stuff.
This is good stuff. I mean, this is a case of what you prefer. McGirt's he's moving forward. He's forcing the action. Probably throwing a bit more, but then Whitaker's effectively countering him and landing. It's so difficult. think I'm swaying with McGirt for this one. Oh, that's a great shot though.
And McGirt missing as Whitaker continues to slip and slide. Whitaker has great admiration for Willie Pep, who once won a round without throwing a punch.
That's a myth, by the way. It's been disproven now, but
Ninth is wide.
Oh, that's a good shot.
and Whitaker doing Whitaker things, just trying to capitalise that round with
Yep.
the domination at the end of it. I'm gonna go Whitaker with that one. This fight might be our first one where we actually have disagreed on.
Yeah,
quite a few
probably.
rounds.
I've let it carry on. Is that alright? You
Yeah,
still?
that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I think championship rounds territory here, but I've got Whitaker miles ahead. I think as well that I think quite a few of the rounds have been clear as well. And I'd have to go back through it, but I have a feeling that 4 or 5 of the rounds so far, I think, have been clearly Whitaker. So
Yeah.
I think it's definitely in McGirt's territory to force the pace a bit more here. Oh, there's a beautiful shot as well.
I'm gonna have to do a manual tally up because I've continued my scorecard from when my computer died, and the rounds are just not right for some reason.
Right.
The total's correct. I've got it 88-84.
Mm-hmm.
I need to look into that. Always bugs. Always bugs. So halfway through round 10, what's the verdict so far?
Well, it's been see, the word isn't quieter because both have thrown, but it's been a less effective round because they've both been nullifying each other for the most part.
Yeah.
I think both have really struggled to land that clean shot. I mean, it's really been a bit of give and take here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think this is really up for grabs in the last minute. Because both have only managed to land that grazing backhand, really.
Yeah.
They've not had the full extension, but both are kind of doing what they want to do. It's counter, avoid counter, you know.
Like I say, I think the output's not quite as much as previous rounds, is it? But
Seems decent head movement and 1 or 2 grazing jabs there.
yeah,
I actually think, oh, there's a good right
that's a
hand.
good right hand.
Right, I think that's could be McGirt's territory to steal it because I think he has been. And then more body shots as well.
Last 10 seconds. That's a nice combination at the end.
Yeah.
But don't see it being enough, to be honest. I agree. I think McGirt might have won this one just on output alone, possibly coming forward a bit. It sounds like the commentary had disagreed with us there, but whatever. What do they know? Don't be smiling.
This legitimately, I think, is one of the hardest fights to score.
Yeah, I think it's the most difficult one that we've watched so far. I mean, Morales was obviously difficult just through the sheer amount of punches being thrown, but this feels like it should have been much closer than our scorecards likely suggest.
Yeah.
Like I say, all of the rounds have not been totally one-sided one way or the other, but it's one of them where a scorecard can easily get lopsided just by the slightest of margins each round, but it adds up, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think some people as well often go, you know, they know there's been like 3 close rounds and they've scored the first 2 to Whitaker, so, you know, if round 10's a close one, they give it to McGirt.
Yeah.
Balance the card out, but for me, if I think one guy just did one thing better, I'll just give it to him. So,
Yeah.
If
And
they
then-
have close rounds, I'd probably favour Whitaker.
And there's also the brigade that go, oh, it was close, give it to the champion.
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily like. I know they say you got to go and win the title, but still.
If it's like 50-50, you can't split them, or the champion should win it by default. Well, it's 50-50, and
Yeah.
you cannot split them with a gun to your head. Just score 10-10.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
You may know what to do it, but that's it.
I had a long Twitter exchange with someone right out of the blue, and they was like, "Oh, he scored for the champion." I was like, "Well, hang on a second. How about this? How about if both fighters literally danced around and didn't throw a single shot? So technically, none of them won the round. It was a dead even round."
Yeah.
In that instance, he's like, "Well, then you give it 10-10."
Yes. That doesn't make any sense, though. It doesn't. First 2 minutes, I have to admit, I think I've liked the stuff from McGirt.
Yeah, I'd say.
It's good defense, but McGirt has managed to slip a few of those right hands through, and those right hands have been the most effective shots. Even there, Whitaker kind of slipped inside, tried to land the left uppercut to the body, but McGirt just had that step back in time just to avoid it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good shot. And another one.
There's another one.
I think that's the first time that he's timed him, Whitaker.
Yeah, Whitaker seems to have been taking a bit of the foot off the gas here.
Yeah.
Must obviously know he's ahead, but
I'd say so, yeah.
just they've been timed a few times there, as you kind of said.
But again,
Spot on, just coming forward.
towards the end of the round, though, he's giving it a go to nick it, I think.
Yeah. McGirt just doing the smart thing there, just kind of either just trying to control the arms or just kind of get out close and basically give him no punching room. I think that's been McGirt's best round.
Best round, yeah. Yeah, I'd say so.
Because I thought the punches were really crisp.
So into the last round. Oh, I've got it tighter than I thought now. I've got 106, 104.
I've got it 107, 102.
A tone of desperation in the corner of McGirt.
Yeah, to be fair, anyone who's had this fight a draw, that corner might be your answer to that.
So he was down at lightweight, was he? Okay.
That's the Terence Crawford route, lightweight, junior, welterweight, and then welterweight.
Last round then. He wants it.
There's a quick right hand lead down the fight just to start off. And there's the commentators as well. Not saying obviously they're right, but they are right in this instance.
Yeah.
I don't understand how anyone could have Whitaker ahead though. He just is. Like, we've watched the same fight. We've disagreed on some of the rounds, but we both know he's ahead. He's winning the fight.
Yeah, he's got to be winning the fight. You can't really see him not winning. Or
Yeah. I mean,
Even-
it's
Go
in
on.
the territory where McGirt needs like the 3 knockdowns to make it like close.
Yeah.
Then if you give him with a close round, yeah, you maybe see him winning, but.
It's going,
and
look
then-
at that. I mean, I think he landed a few, but then
Yeah, just do the classic kind of theatrics of Whitaker just dropping his hands and just.
some impressive reflexes going on.
Yeah. He's just inclined just to take the piss now.
Yeah, don't like that.
It's funny as well that he just bends below the waist. I know it's just a bit for him. Obviously, it's just a bit of kind of theatrics of it, but just dropping his hands out of range as well. But
What is
you're
he
actually
doing?
not allowed to below. You're actually allowed to duck below your
The
opponent's
blow.
weight. though.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, technically should get warned for it, but if you're the A side earning whatever $1.2 million, the referee will say
Yeah.
all about it.
It's the last round. You're winning, coasting, let him entertain the crowd.
There's a nice one coming forward.
I mean, he's losing the round, so
Yeah, this is just a
It's
throw
a
a few
th-
jabs,
it's a throwaway,
educate the
isn't
crowd
it?
and just not get knocked out type round.
yeah. He's back to his boxing now. Last 30 seconds.
Final 30. These two guys waited a long time to fight each other. And tonight, a boxing exhibition by Whitaker. Final seconds of the fight. More showboating from Whitaker. That doesn't show much respect to McGirt. And this one is
Yeah, that's kind of Pernell Whitaker in almost like a nutshell in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and there's Ludwig trying to fight with someone.
Kicking off.
This is like the most Luduva Pernell Whitaker fight there is. Perfect boxing skill, and the trainers try to have some sort of fight as well.
respect and admiration. That's where the emphasis should be here.
Ref wants a hug. Fair
Yeah,
enough. Oh, I was going to say, please tell us we get a score.
just in case it was a round decision.
Mm.
Judge Rudy Ortega, he watched it at 115-114. And Judge Chuck Jumpa, he observed 115-113.
The legendary Chuck.
By unanimous decision. And a brand new WBC welterweight champion, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker.
There's some pretty wide scores there.
32-1, and he's got his third world title.
I think I could see. I mean, Chuck Champa had a 7-5 Whitaker. I think I could see that. I think 9-3 Whitaker's a little bit on the harsher side, but I think if you gave McGirt just, I think McGirt only won 3 clear rounds as well. I have to go through his card, but 11, 12, and did he give him 5? They all gave him 5. Did I give him 5? 5. Yes. So it's a bit harsh, but not in the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
And Rudy Ortega had a 6-5 1 even. So not the worst cards. I think at least. Yeah. I think the winner was right. I don't see any controversy though. Really.
No.
Whitaker was more than the worthy winner.
So what did I have? My tallying up has gone a little bit haywire for some reason on my looking at my score. So I'm just
You have it like 124, 132.
No. I've got it 115, 114, but like underneath it gives like the rounds the opposite way. I think possibly.
Right.
If that's right, let me just tally it up. I've got.
Oh, the
Whitaker-
scorecard comparison's working now.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
That'd be useful. Let's have a look. Yeah, so it is. 115, 114. It's kind of working. I've got a random bracket there. No, it's still gone a little bit haywire. The 4 rounds to 7. And I think that's because of some glitch when you start the scorecard and then come back to it. So I scored an even round on round 4. That one that was really close. And then we differed from three rounds, 8, 9 and 10 we went different ways, which is interesting. Let me try and get the card up on the stream. Somewhere. Okay. Are you still with us?
I'm still here.
Should be able to see the side by side though on the stream.
Yep.
So yeah, as I was saying, we kind of went similar early on. The first 3 rounds we gave to Whitaker. First 4, sorry. And then it went to McGirt. Round 5. And then again we had the same exactly for round 6 for Whitaker. Round 7 for Whitaker. And then we started disagreeing. So in round 8, I had Whitaker winning, you had McGirt. Our reasons kind of reflect that. You know, you went for the landing, the cleaner, more effective shots. I went for the counter punching instead. The next round, I went McGirt, that was more on the front foot, and you went Whitaker, and then again I went McGirt for the next 2 rounds. You gave round 10 to Whitaker instead for a significant punch combo. We had the same round 11, and we both gave McGirt that last kind of throwaway round. So I had it pretty close, really. 115, 114, and you had it 116, 112. So, interesting. Are you still with us?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's. I think because both guys change tactics and they kind of exhibit different styles. You know, they both kind of take turns on the inside and outside. There's McGirt comes on strong. It does. It's an interesting fight. I think it could be broken down maybe round by round to see what really lands, because their defense is so good that, you know, inevitably you are counting stuff that doesn't land, or you think something lands that doesn't, you know, back and forth. So it's an interesting one. Ultimately, it was very competitive. I mean, look, we have the same in terms of, you know, the 51.6 to 48.3. So the rounds, a lot of them were 55-45, and that really becomes the point of what do you actually prefer?
Yeah.
Or legitimately, what do you prefer? Because Whitaker certainly wasn't going out his way at points, you know, leaving it to the last 30 seconds to try and, rally it, get a combination or a good shot just to steal it. Whereas McGirt, using the left lead to just try to occupy the space. It was an interesting tactical affair. I think the decision was good though. I thought Whitaker did enough, but you know.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I don't know the question after all.
Yeah, I think it was a correct decision. I think my scorecard is kind of slightly closer than probably the fight really was. I think I was some of these later rounds, 9 and 10. Maybe I kind of went more off McGirt kind of being a little bit better than he had been previously, and I swayed it that way. I think the total rounds comes for mine is Whitaker 6 rounds, McGirt 5 rounds, and then I scored that one even as well.
If you hadn't have seen the scorecard, which I know sounds a bit strange because obviously we've kind of discussed it in detail, do you think that Whitaker had won like 7-5, 8-4?
Yeah.
Was that, yeah?
Yeah.
That's what I kind of felt, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
that was entertaining fight. Really good technical stuff.
Yeah.
And different again. I don't think we've had a welterweight one so far, especially one with. I think that must have been the highest level so far. 2 pound for pound. What should have been 2 undefeated pound for pound, unless I'm mistaken. Unless Buddy McGirt lost before Whitaker.
I think he'd lost.
Oh yeah, he had actually. Yeah, he got stopped by Meldrick Taylor. Okay. I've never seen that fight.
There we go.
What's it with Meldrick Taylor in the 12th round? Honestly.
Well, that was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a good fight to watch. Difficult to score, and I'm sure that we'll probably find some other bouts where both of those guys are in for future. Because it'd be good to see them again. They were, technically really good and fun to watch. So let's move on. Let's just before we get out of here, it's 10-7. Obviously, we've gone long a bit today with the technical issues. Hopefully, that won't ever happen again. Upcoming fights and news. I don't think there's been anything major in terms of news or fights being made that I can think of. I'm not sure if you can think of anything off the top of your head. Sorry.
Just wait, Canelo, Bivol, and Fury versus White.
Good point. I think we briefly touched on Fury and White before. I think that I'd all come in when we previously spoke. But yeah, Bivol and Canelo is the other big one, isn't it? That's been announced.
That's one of the best fights of the year. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's been one that I've been hoping for a while. When people was not too sure whether he was going to stick around at light heavyweight after he beat Kovalev, and then he went kind of back down again, didn't he? I think it's technically it could be his trickiest fight for a long time. That being said, Billy Joe Saunders was supposed to be a bit of a tricky one, but that didn't pan out for him. But yeah, maybe. And well, to be fair, he's not the biggest, is he? Is it going to be at light heavy?
It's a light heavy.
Yeah, and Bivol's not the biggest guy, is he? In that weight class, but technically he is a brilliant fighter. How do you see it going?
I've not necessarily made up my mind yet. I think it's going to do a lot for Canelo's legacy, because there's no tactical matchmaking here. He's facing, the naturally bigger guy who's campaigned the whole time at light heavyweight, who's done a bit of a who's who in terms of clearing it up a bit. Sullivan Barrera, Joe Smith. He's been around. He's technically good. Seemingly a good chin, decent power, good reflexes, good defense. It is going to be a challenge. I don't know. I think it's going to be close. I don't think Canelo's going to knock him out. I don't think Bivol's going to knock Canelo out. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be 7-5 on the scorecards, probably. I think the problem maybe Canelo, more control, more killer instinct, more aggressive. Bivol still has a tendency, especially in recent fights, to not get the job done, in the sense where he's happy to cruise through a decision. Which I think is a bit of a bad habit, really, when he could have stopped the guys. So I think maybe Canelo could sneak it out of the championship distance. Don't know. Controversial, maybe Canelo majority decision.
Yeah, maybe. I've always had that opinion with Bivol. It frustrates me because you can just see that, he is a good fighter, and he probably just doesn't let his hands go as much as he probably could do. Doesn't really seem to have that killer instinct, finishing mentality. But yeah, really tough. I guess there was Bivol or who's the other top guy at light heavyweight in the Russian? Beterbiev was the other one, who's an absolute monster. That would have been a good fight, and maybe if he comes through Bivol, that might be the next one, I guess. I would have liked to have seen Bivol versus Beterbiev, to be fair, and maybe that can still be done as well in future, regardless of what happens next. But yeah, good fight. People can't say anything bad about that fight, because obviously Canelo gets a lot of haters for whatever reason. Anyway, let's look into the near future. So in the next couple of weeks, there's not really that much coming in terms of hugely exciting fights. Next weekend we've got Lee Wood versus Michael Conlan. I think is the kind of the standout bout. We've said before we came on air that we weren't really too familiar with Lee Wood. He's 25-2. He's 33 years old. Oh yes, last time out he beat Kanzu. That was a pretty big upset. He knocked him out in the last round. I don't think I saw the fight, but I remember it being a bit of an upset. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Lost to James Dickens, and he's lost earlier on in his career. Oh, he got knocked out by Gavin McDonnell in 2014. So I guess he's had a bit of a resurgence since then.
That's a real roller coaster.
Yeah, I guess he's probably being fed to Michael Conlan then, isn't he, next week? Conlan knows.
Well, see, I think it might be quite close for the bookmakers. I'm not exactly sure. I'll have a quick look.
Yeah, if you
right now.
want to have a quick look. Yeah, Conlan is 16-0. He's 8 by knockout. He's not really a big puncher. I know he's got a big following in Ireland. I think he fought in the US a couple of times as well, hasn't he? Didn't he headline a fight in the US? Even though
the odds are quite close.
Okay.
Coleman, as you said, but Leewood 7-5. So.
Oh, that's not too bad then. Maybe it will be quite competitive.
I think the instinct is though he's going to present challenges, but it's going to be probably a Conlan close decision.
Yeah, that's what I would have imagined. Yeah, I'm not really on the Michael Conlan hype train. I know he does have a lot of fans, and he had the amateur pedigree, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just don't see it. He's a good fighter, but he's not the most exciting. I don't think he's got good power. But yeah, I guess he flies the flag for Ireland, and he got a bit of a fan base in America. The Americans love the Irish, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, there's options for both. Presumably, if Josh Warrington finds a way to beat Kiko Martinez, that's going to be a big unification in the fall.
Yeah.
There's plenty of options for both guys because featherweight's quite an open division, so there's still some kind of decent names out there. So there will be paydays and there'll be decent fights.
Yeah.
Whoever wins.
Yeah. We can touch on the following weekend, because if we do our next stream in 2 weeks again, there's this weekend we can discuss the results of that. So that'll be Sonny Edwards is on that weekend. I don't know who Mohammed Wasim is, but they're fighting in Dubai. That's Sonny Edwards' second fight in a row in Dubai, maybe his new hometown.
Yeah.
Mohammed Wasim is 12-1 from Pakistan. He's fought, it looks like, mostly in Dubai and Pakistan, Kuala Lumpur. I guess that's going to be another Sonny Edwards decision. Can't see anything else. A wide decision, I'd imagine. Is there actually anything for Sonny Edwards in the division? Flyweight Nakatani. Guess that's the big one, isn't it? Junto Nakatani.
We'll see what happens to Julio Cesar Martinez as well. I presume he's going to move back down. Actually, no, he struggled with the weight though, didn't he? When he was fighting Gonzalez. I don't know. We'll see if he can make it back down to flyweight.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, it's not a great division, really.
No. Let's get back to what else was there? Oh yeah, Regis Prograis fights as well on the 19th. I quite like Regis Prograis. I thought he gave Josh Taylor a very, very good fight. I thought that was really close. He's had a few knockout wins since then. He's facing Tyrone McKenna. Is that on that same card?
Have a quick look.
Yeah, it's in Dubai, so I'm guessing it's on the same card. Tyrone McKenna is 22-2. He's only got 6 knockouts. Southpaw, 32 years old. Lost to O'Hara Davis in 2020, which doesn't bode well. And he got beat off Jack Catterall as well in 2018. So I assume that Prograis was probably quite a handy favourite for that one.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way. Prograis is a weird one, because I was quite on the hype train, because he is very good, and it's hard to know what's happened since though. The Taylor fight seemed to his career just took a real backward step, and he's lost a few good years from his prime, but when he just kind of took Flanagan apart, and he just destroyed Relic as well. He has boxing skill, but he's clearly a really hard hitter, and I think you said it best. He gave Josh Taylor everything he could handle. That was a really close fight. I think I watched it a few times. I think I had it a draw, but I think 7-5 Taylor was fair as well.
Yeah.
I always wanted a rematch for that fight, and it's a shame we're never going to get it. But I thought the rematch would have been good, and I think Prograis easily could have won it as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But here we go.
I thought that it was worthy of a rematch, and it all kind of went quiet fairly quickly on that front, didn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And the rematch would have been a good fight, though. It'd have been more, high level action stuff, because the first fight was one of the fights of the year. It was nominated. I think it lost out to Inoue versus Dinaire. That was 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah, possibly.
So it was like a top 3 though, so it was a real shame. But anyway, Taylor's moving up. Prograis, I presume he'll become world champion. He could unify junior welterweight as well, because I always thought he was better than Ramirez.
Yeah.
I think he could stop Ramirez as well, because Josh Taylor had him in so much trouble. He just took off that, just stepped away from him. But I mean, Prograis just going to get in there and just going to finish the job. So I wouldn't be surprised about that.
That'd be a really good fight. Obviously, Taylor's moving up. Ramirez is back to winning ways. Prograis is probably the biggest puncher in the division, isn't he? You got Zapida there.
Oh yeah, there's some.
That'd be a good fight. And obviously, Jack Catterall will be loitering around. Sando Martin, he just had that good win as well last year against Mikey Garcia, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of really good fights. Prediction: I think Prograis will be in pretty decent shape, and I think he'll dissect Tyrone McKenna. Maybe like mid rounds, head body, classic stuff. I don't think it'll be too competitive at all.
No. Right, well, I think we'll leave it there. That's the next few weeks coming up. I guess we'll do another live scoring session in a couple of weeks' time. We'll find a good fight from the past to watch. Hopefully we'll get some people on board watching along with us and scoring the fight as well. We won't have any technical issues. We'll make sure of that. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you again, hopefully, in a few weeks' time.